I got the call on December 11th while I was still at the office in Austin, double-checking end-of-quarter renewal numbers. It was 12 days before Christmas Eve, and I already had 3 tabs open to book a flight to Lake Forest. Lila's name lit up on my phone, so I answered with half my brain still on a contract that needed closing. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. She didn't waste time. "Hey," she said, a little too bright. "So, my mom wants to streamline Christmas Eve this year, just immediate family. You know, people who reflect the Dalton brand." I leaned back in my chair, staring at the spreadsheet. "What does that mean?" She hesitated, that half-second pause where the truth tries to run. "It's not personal. Victoria's calling it a pre-merger family dinner. Sloane's introducing Bennett Whitford IV, and old families have standards." That word hit me harder than I expected. Standards. Like I didn't meet them. Like I'd been tested and failed. "They just want it simple," Lila said. "Familiar faces. It's not—" "It is what it is," I said, cutting her off. "I hope it goes well. Good luck with the brand." I ended the call before I could say something worse. Sat there staring at my screen like the numbers might fix this. "Let me explain something. They've been calling me the contract IT guy for years. Lila's cousins, her mother, even her brother once when he thought I wasn't listening. I let them believe it. I kept it vague. No titles, no LinkedIn brags, no mention of the board seats or the patent portfolio. Truth is, I co-founded Sablegate Systems 9 years ago. We build predictive security tech for freight logistics. Not flashy, not sexy, just essential. Half of North America's supply chain rides on our code not screwing up. My stake sits at 27%. I still drive the same 09 F-150. Still wear polos that come off the rack at Kohl's, not Neiman. I kept the shine off things on purpose. I wanted to see who respected the work without the gloss. Now I had my answer. I hung up, opened a new window, and called Victor Hahn, my publicist. There was a Fortune feature scheduled to go live at 5:30 Christmas morning. Quiet profiles on under-the-radar tech builders. I told him to confirm it reached every screen within 20 miles of Lake Forest. Then I leaned forward, locked my eyes on the next row of numbers, and went right back to work. Back when we started Sablegate, there was no press to worry about. Just 3 of us, me, Reed Park, and Maya Srinivasan, slammed into a conference room behind a grocery warehouse in Dallas. We'd been brought in on different contracts to figure out why this grocer's inventory data kept going sideways. After 2 weeks of chasing fake pallets, we saw it clear as day. They'd firewalled the front like Fort Knox, but the back end was wide open. Suppliers, vendors, third-party APIs, leaking info like a busted pipe. We got a 6-pack, sat on the hood of Reed's Civic in the parking lot, and hashed out what would become Sablegate. That night, we each threw in savings, 21 grand from me, 20 from Maya, 21 from Reed, and got a little $1,000 bump from a startup accelerator in San Antonio. 62 grand total, no outside money, just nerves and a chip on our shoulders. Year 1, we built a glitchy but useful anomaly detection model. It flagged misroutes, repeat violations, and duplicate scans. 3 mid-sized distributors bought licenses, mostly just hoping their scanners would stop lying to dispatch. We cleared 210 grand, didn't take salaries, lived off ramen and whatever clients gave us under the table, gift cards, hotel points, you name it. Year 2 changed everything. A logistics director at a healthcare firm called us on a Tuesday. Said his blood shipment had gone bad because of a false clear scan in St. Louis. I remember the guy's voice, calm, pissed, serious. We pulled a 36-hour sprint, built a pre-departure validation engine, and ran it through their system. 2 weeks later, they sent us a $6.4 million enterprise contract. We hired 7 people, moved out of Reed's garage, and got a low-ceiling office near the airport. You could hear jets every 20 minutes. And the walls were so thin, the HVAC made our whiteboards rattle. But the data was clean, and the alerts were catching bad freight before it ever left the dock. Series A came in 6 months later, $14 million on a 180 valuation. Maya and Reed moved into small houses. I stayed in my truck in a 2-bedroom rental in East Austin. Lila's family started making jokes. Grant called me a computer tinkerer at brunch, like I was soldering toy drones. Patricia once asked if I'd ever thought about going corporate, for stability. We were crossing 70 million in annual recurring revenue by then. Series B was 72 million, post money at 540. We opened offices in Dublin and Toronto. Reed built the ops layer. Maya ran AI compliance and fed the model like it was a kid who never slept. I handled the contracts and the roadmap. And still, at dinner in Lake Forest, Victoria Dalton looked me dead in the face and said, "Have you considered aiming higher? Something with structure?" I had to chew my tongue not to laugh. I nodded, said, "Always thinking," and watched her cut into her veal like she was slicing through the working class. Series C closed at a valuation north of $1 billion. We were sitting on 410 employees. 2 federal agencies had signed early access agreements. My stake alone was sitting around $432 million on paper. But none of them knew that, because I never said a word. I sat there at that big oval table, linen napkin on my lap, smiled through stories about country club board elections, and took mental notes. Naomi Keller flew in from New York 4 days after the call. She walked through the front doors in black boots and a coat that looked way too warm for Austin. Said she only had 6 hours and didn't want fluff. I liked her right away. She spent the first hour walking the floor, whiteboards covered in threat trees and heat maps, ops screens pulling real time from freight terminals in Kentucky and Ontario. She didn't ask softball questions, wanted to know our worst outage, our dumbest mistake, the point we almost lost the whole company. I gave her all 3. Then she looked at me across our battered breakroom table, the one we dragged over from the garage days. "Your growth's clean, your tech's sharp. Your partners talk about you like you're the spine," she said, tapping her pen. "But I've got to ask, does your wife's family support what you do?" I stared at her for half a second. Could have played it nice, smiled, changed the subject. Instead, I told her the truth. "They like the Dalton name more than any man who doesn't feed it," I said. 2 nights ago, I got asked not to come to Christmas because I might muddy optics for an engagement dinner. Old money doesn't want blue-collar software guys in the pictures. She didn't write. She just looked at me. "That's going in." "So be it," I said. "I'm done protecting people who won't do the same for me." That was the moment something in my chest settled. Not anger, just finality. If they wanted clean optics, they'd get it, from every angle. After she left, I called Nora Bell, my lawyer, told her I needed a complete packet ready by the 22nd, equity breakdown, full board minutes, my original co-founder agreements, patent filings, everything. She didn't ask questions, just said, "You want this neat?" I said, "Cleaner than Christmas china." Next was Victor Hahn. He picked up on the second ring. "That fortune quote's gonna blow the doors off," he said. I told him to prep the follow-up now. No drama, no dragging anybody's name. Say I'm grateful, say I'm private, say I'm focused on my team. Family dynamics are complicated. Leave it there. And if someone presses, "I'm not here to gossip," I said. "I'm here to build." That's the line. He paused. "You sure you're ready for this to pop?" "I was born ready," I said, and hung up. That night, I drove out to the outlet mall and bought one decent suit. Charcoal gray, sharp lines, tailored just enough to move clean. Back home, I RSVP'd to a Christmas night tech gala at the JW Marriott. Lila's folks wanted old money Polish? Fine. I'd shake hands with the people actually building the next decade. At 5:32 a.m. on Christmas morning, my phone lit up. Fortune had dropped the piece. The headline read, "The Quiet Architect, the man securing America's freight." The pull quote, front and center, said, "I was asked not to attend my in-laws' holiday dinner for optics. I stayed home." I didn't correct a word. By 7 a.m., I had 93 missed calls, 204 texts, and 3 voicemail inboxes full. LinkedIn froze. My email blew up. Vendors sending congrats, supply chain partners thanking me for keeping their systems online, and 3 different federal agencies asking for calls in January. I made coffee, black, and took a long 7-mile walk around the neighborhood. Crisp air, quiet streets, the buzz humming in my pocket the whole time. I didn't answer anything. By noon, they showed up. Lila, her mother Patricia, and Grant, standing on my porch in dress clothes like they were headed to church. Tight faces, nobody smiling. I opened the door, said nothing. Patricia spoke first. "You blindsided this family." I didn't move. Last April, I asked to bring my co-founders to Victoria's birthday dinner. We'd just landed a federal pilot. First one. Your response was, "No work people." So Maya and Reed missed a night we were supposed to be celebrating. I didn't say a word then. She didn't flinch, just blinked once, slow. I kept going. In September, I texted Lila that the company had crossed another major revenue milestone. Her reply was, "Let's not brag in front of the Whitfords." I pulled up my phone, showed them the screen. "Last month I got this." I scrolled to another message. "Please don't wear the trucker jacket to Thanksgiving. It reads blue collar." Lila looked at the floor. She didn't deny it. Patricia took a step closer. "We don't want this to escalate. You've made your point, but we need a statement, something that smooths the tone." Grant stepped in. "Just something clean. Frame it like you were misquoted, or say it was off the record." I stared at him. "You want me to lie?" No, he said, palms up. "Just shape the message. This makes the family look cold." "I'm not responsible for how it looks," I said. "I told the truth. I didn't spin it when you all downplayed me for years, and I'm not starting now." Patricia narrowed her eyes. "There are ways to handle this that don't burn bridges." "You lit the match," I said. Grant let out a short breath. "So you're just going to leave it out there? You're fine being the guy who drags his in-laws and fortune?" "I'm the guy who got asked to stay home for optics," I said. "And I'm done pretending that's normal." Patricia's mouth tightened. "You've made us look cruel." "I didn't have to try," I said, stepping aside from the door. "You all did that yourselves." Lila didn't move. She just stood there, hands clenched around her clutch. Then, quietly, "Is there anything you'll say to help?" "I'll be polite on camera," I said, "but I won't lie for you." No one spoke after that. Just heavy silence. Then I said, "I think we're done here." Patricia spun on her heel. Grant followed, jaw locked. Lila stood for half a second longer, looked up at me, then back down again. She didn't say a word. She stepped off the porch, heels clicking on the stone, and followed her mother out. I closed the door, poured another cup of coffee, and turned my phone face down on the counter. That night, I walked into the JW Marriott downtown. Ballroom already full, lights low but sharp, hum of conversation louder than the jazz band in the corner. I heard my name in the buzz before I even made it to coat check. Felt strange, not bad, just loud, like something had shifted and everyone had just caught up. Naomi waved me over near the bar, raised her glass. "Your phone still working?" "Barely," I said. She laughed. "Good. That means we did it right." Then she started introducing me to people who'd actually read the technical briefs, not just skimmed the headline. Startup founders, CTOS, supply chain ops, folks from companies I knew well and a few I didn't. A venture guy in a gray wool blazer asked, "So, what's next for you?" "Less churn at the dock," I said, "and fewer middle-of-the-night pager storms." He snorted. "That's the most founder answer I've heard all year. You raising a growth round?" "Maybe," I said. "We'll talk timing in January." Eleanor Chu stepped in then. She runs a very large outfit. Doesn't need intro anywhere she walks. She gave me a firm handshake and said, "The family part took guts." I shrugged. It was just the truth. I'm tired of acting smaller to keep peace at a table I didn't set. She held my eyes for a second, then nodded. "Build with people who bet on you early. The rest arrive with speeches." That line hit harder than I expected. I tucked it away. For the next 3 hours, I shook hands, fielded questions about anomaly drift, freight corridors, and regional model tuning. Not once did anyone ask about club memberships or who my in-laws were. Just work, just impact. I left around 11, ears buzzing, shoes worn, suit still crisp. Stepped out into the cold air, tie loose, pulse steady. And somewhere between the valet stand and the corner where I parked, it hit me. I hadn't thought about the Dalton name once the entire night. The next morning, my phone rang just after 8. North Shore number. I answered, half expecting Patricia or Grant. It was Bennett Whitford IV. His voice was calm, clipped. Just wanted to say I read the piece. I called off the engagement. I sat down on the arm of the couch. You don't owe me a call. I don't owe you, he said. I owe myself. I'm not marrying into a house that trims people for optics. That's not family. That's brand management. He didn't sound angry, just done, like a guy who'd crossed his own line. Before hanging up, he added, My family office will be in touch when you open your D round. The line clicked dead. 30 minutes later, Patricia texted me 3 times, then called twice. No voicemails, just that repeat ringing pressure move she liked to use when she wanted something urgent, but didn't want to say it out loud. At 10:07, I got a long message from Aunt Victoria. Paragraphs about the damage you've caused, and how families stick together even when it's uncomfortable. I didn't answer. At 10:22, Lila texted, Please talk to Bennett. We're not like that. I stared at it a while, then typed, You said nothing when I was told to stay home. That silence was louder than anything. She called. I picked up. I didn't agree with it, she said, voice already tight. I was just trying to keep things calm. Calm for who? I asked. I got benched like a PR risk, and you just went with it. I didn't want to fight over Christmas, she said. I stood up. Lila, I'm moving out. What? You're just, leaving? We have a prenup. It keeps business clean. I'm not doing the fixer routine. Not for this. We can do therapy, she said quickly. Let's try something before we blow this up. I've been sitting in that waiting room for years, I said. You just never came in. I ended the call before she could spin it. Then I dialed Nora. I want a clean separation agreement. Keep room for counseling later, if it's mutual and respectful. But I need logistics now. No public drama, no fireworks, no press. You want it quiet, she said. Quiet and fast. I packed 2 bags, just clothes, laptop, charger, left the rest. I booked a short-term rental 5 minutes from the office. Brick outside, small and square. I didn't need anything fancy, just space. Before walking out, I left my keys on the counter, wrote Lila a note, nothing dramatic. Just, I need space to breathe, and to see if we have anything left besides your last name. Then I walked out and closed the door behind me. The think pieces rolled in by the dozen, some about family systems, some about class, a few about tech guys flipping the old guard on its head. Most of them didn't say my name, but the message was clear. Old money's real blind spot isn't tech. It's people who don't dress up their value with polish. I didn't retweet a thing, just kept my head down, ran the company, answered the calls that mattered. Word got around that Patricia stepped down from the museum gala committee in February. The official line was to focus on family. Everyone in Lake Forest knew what that meant. Whispers got sharp, and the optics she'd worked so hard to control finally turned on her. I didn't smile about it, but I didn't feel bad either. Instead, I signed off on a 7-figure pledge to build a logistics security lab at the community college back in Lila's hometown. It wasn't flashy, no velvet rope or wine tasting, just a press table, a plaque with our logo, and a name on the building, the Truckline Systems Lab. I told the director, name it for the drivers. They're the ones who keep the country running. The press came, students came. Nobody asked me who my in-laws were. A week later, a letter showed up. Thick paper, neat handwriting. It was from Leonard, Lila's father. He said he'd spent too many years valuing status over character, and he was sorry. He didn't beg, didn't spin it, just owned it. I read it twice, put it in a drawer, let it sit. Then came a message from Sloan. She wasn't angry, wasn't defensive. She just said she'd started counseling. Said, I forgot I was a person before I was a Dalton. I'm working on that. I told her I hoped she found her feet, and I meant it. Lila texted 2 days after that. Can we meet? Just talk. I stared at the screen, thought about how she'd let silence do her talking all those months. I type back, "Not yet. I'm not ready to hear apologies dressed up like branding." Then I put the phone down and got back to work. 7 months later, we were standing on the NASDAQ floor in matching navy suits, bright lights bouncing off polished tile. The opening bell was 20 seconds out. My tie felt too tight, but I wasn't touching it. Sablegate priced at 38 a share. Screens flashed. The board lit up in green stutters, and the total flashed across the top, just over $4.9 billion. My stake cleared $1.32 billion on paper. Reed elbowed me, grinning like a madman. "You seeing this?" I nodded, still watching the numbers. Maya stepped closer and squeezed my shoulder. "Garage days are over. Our people, engineers, ops leads, interns turned VPs, cheered loud enough to shake the floor. You could hear glass rattle behind the booths. Cameras spun toward us. Somewhere behind the flash, I remembered the freezing cold of Reed's garage, eating vending machine pretzels, while Maya debugged an alert loop at 3 in the morning. We didn't even have real desks back then, just folding tables and a stack of takeout boxes that served as a router shelf. I'd sent formal invitations back in March, through Nora, gold-embossed sharp lettering. Every Dalton got one. The RSVP came back in 2 weeks. "We respectfully decline. We do not wish to intrude." My phone buzzed as we stepped down from the podium. Text from Sloan. "Proud of you. I'm figuring me out." Another came in from Bennett. "Told you we'd talk D. Congrats." Then a third popped up from a governor's office. "Ready to meet on the workforce grant. Let's get something built." I turned to my assistant. "Set all of them up. Start with the grant." A reporter slid over, mic ready. Young, eager, badge from a tech finance outlet I respected. "Quick question," he said. "There's been talk about your family ties. Anything you want to say now, standing here?" I looked him in the eye. "Only this, respect has to come before celebration. I'm grateful to the people who backed us when we were just risking raw code. That's who this day is for." He nodded. No follow-up. We left the floor an hour later, handshakes all around, team beaming, partners waiting outside for press photos. I stayed back a second to breathe, let the moment settle. On the wall near the exit, a big TV was replaying the morning's bell ceremony. Camera panned over the stage. The front row had a clear view, 6 seats left open by design. That was where the Daltons would have sat. I looked at it for a beat, expected the old pinch in the gut, that twist of being shut out. It never came. I turned, caught up with Reed and Maya, and walked out into the sunlight. That night, I sat in the new office. Top floor, glass walls, quiet hum from the air system. The only light came from the monitors and our logo spinning slow on the lobby screen downstairs. Across the room, the framed fortune cover hung by reception. Not a trophy, just a timestamp. Just a reminder. My phone buzzed. It was Lila. "Watching coverage. You look strong. I'm sorry I didn't stand up for you. I love you." I stared at it a long minute. Then typed, "Love has to bring respect with it. When it does, we can talk." No reply. A few minutes later, Reed showed up carrying 2 sandwiches in a brown paper bag. Cheap stuff. Same brand we used to buy when the card was near maxed out. And we had $22 between the 3 of us. He tossed me one. "You did it, old man." I cracked a smile. "I'm not that old." He grinned. "No, but you needed to hear it that way." Maya walked in behind him with 2 paper cups. No champagne, just coffee. She raised hers. "To building with people who believed before anyone else cared." I nodded. That line still hits. We sat on the floor, backs to the glass, eating sandwiches and listening to the quiet buzz of servers down the hall. I thought about Lake Forest, the long dining table, the polished silver, the careful smiles. Then I thought about the truck stops, 3 a.m., bad coffee, dashboards lit up, our system catching a weird pattern before it turned into real damage. That's the room I care about. That's where it counts. I don't need the Dalton name, never did. And I don't need their table either. I've got my own now, solid wood, scarred edges, crowded with people who show up hungry to work, not hungry to impress. That's where I'll spend my holidays. And if someone asks what I do, I'll say, I try to make sure the right stuff gets where it's going, and leave it at that.